So, you have a ton of Olympic stuff to talk about
I have
this week.
a ton of just like stuff to talk about. I want to hit real quick on an update to that I think it was the El Dorado fire last year, the gender reveal party fire.
Yeah.
The people that were responsible for it have been charged with I think like a bunch of things, including whatever murder is like the non-intentional murder. They're pleading not guilty. So we'll see what charges stick and what charges are whatever. But I hope they're found guilty, and I honestly do hope they go to jail or get a crazy fine. And I wouldn't normally I wouldn't say that because like they obviously have a newborn baby. However, they didn't take responsibility for it. Instead of being like, hey, this sparked a fire, they legit just ran off. Like the people in Arizona that did the same thing, the dude called and goes, hey, I started a fire. Like, please come put this fire out. And it didn't burn as much because he told somebody he started a fucking fire. So I was thinking about that. And then I was thinking about climate change because there's a ton of crazy things. There's 82 wildfires, I think, either currently burning or have burned in the year 2021. We're only at the end of July. 82 with like 1.6 million acres burned, and it's just going to keep going. China flooded. I saw photos where people were in the subway, like chest deep in water in a subway car because China's flooding. And they just like were stuck down there. And I was like, how do you even like function? Can you imagine being stuck in a train underground and like you're chest deep and you're just like, I'm inside a car and I'm chest deep in water. Like,
Yeah.
what's the plan? So climate change is really bugging me right now because I keep seeing things. They're saying that Iceland is melting. I saw today, let me see the number. Tom Skilling, who is the local celebrity weatherman by me, he posted today. Oh, sorry, it's not Iceland, it's Greenland because Greenland is the one with the ice and Iceland is the one that's
Right.
green. Um, they said ice melt since Sunday uh, is 18.4 billion tons of ice has melted in Greenland since Sunday, 8.4 billion tons since Tuesday.
Just this past week?
Just this past week, 18.4 billion tons. And it said the meltwater from Tuesday's meltdown, which is the 8.4 billion, would cover an area the size of Florida with 2 inches of water. And that's in 1 week. And like, nobody talks about climate change and how shitty it is and how fucked up everything is right now. And it's just really alarming. I saw another stat where they said, what was it? It was some stupid story. I think it was something about some celebrity, but they were like, all of the news stations combined have covered this celebrity story this week more than the entire year that they've covered the climate crisis. So I just wanted to bring awareness to the fact that half the United States is on fire, Greenland is melting, China, I believe the Netherlands and Germany for sure, and China for sure, are having catastrophic flooding, and billionaires are going into space. So,
End of the world as we know it.
yeah.
But I feel
So,
fine. I
so
really
that
don't
was
feel fine,
super,
actually.
huh?
So I really don't feel fine, actually.
Yeah.
So,
Um, Other upsetting things, the COVID Delta variant. I am honestly more afraid of the Delta variant than I have been this entire pandemic. We've been in a pandemic for 18 months now, or like 20, I don't know how long. I think it's 18, but I'm actually genuinely concerned for like the first time in this pandemic. Before it was like, yeah, stay inside, wear your mask, social distance, you'll be fine, like for the most part. And now it's like, do all that and you still might get COVID.
yeah. Yeah, this one's very contagious. Um, I've went back to wearing a mask and everything, even though we're all vaccinated. Um, just because like I know people who have been vaccinated that have come down with the Delta variant. They're not the same friends that I have that have been in the hospital with it. They're doing okay. They're able to treat it at home and get over it, at home and not have bad side effects. But I've got friends that aren't vaccinated that are not doing well um, with this variant. So
That's a
hopefully, after they're done, even if they don't get vaccinated, they'll have antibodies to help them the next time they catch it.
Yeah, they're saying that 99.5% of the deaths and hospitalization cases are people that were unvaccinated. So being fully vaccinated, at least you're going to probably stay out of the hospital. So you've got that going for you. But honestly, I mean, I think Illinois is only at like 56% vaccination.
Oh,
I
girl,
thought
I'm
we
in
were doing really
Arkansas.
well. Yeah.
It's like 20 or 30% here. However,
Well,
my parents are helping. They're finally getting vaccinated. They have
that's
not wanted to
awesome.
get vaccinated this entire time. They've protested. Me and the rest of my family have tried to convince them to get vaccinated. And they're finally getting vaccinated. So that's good.
Yeah, that
They
is
got their
good.
first shot this past week.
Well,
So,
they said that I think Pfizer and AstraZeneca, if you get both doses, are like 80 and 70% effective against Delta variant, which are
yeah,
great odds compared to
it's
the
better than zero.
yeah, I think if you got the one shot of the Johnson and Johnson, it's like 33%. And if you got nothing, then obviously it's zero. But they're saying too, like it's super important that you get that second dose. And that's what I'm worried about for like places like where you are, where people are like, well,
Just
I
now
got one
getting it.
dose.
Well,
So
and a lot of them are just now going to get vaccinated. And
yeah.
so our cases are already skyrocketing. Like you can still get it much easier even if you've only had one dose. So, and then
We
nobody's wearing masks. Like I
yeah.
everywhere I've went, nobody wears a mask unless it's the hospital, and that's only because they won't let you in without a mask on.
They're starting to do that. I think like 2 weeks ago, Los Angeles was like everybody needs to wear a mask. And then just this week, Washington, D.C. did a mask mandate, and there's a couple other places. And
Pretty sure our
Chicago,
governor said he's not going to go back to a mask mandate. That
so did Governor Abbott of Texas and Ron DeSantis of Florida. So both of them were like no mask mandate. And actually, JB Pritzker, my governor, he also said that he does not want to do a mask mandate, but they are strongly recommending that you put a mask on. Um, Chicago just, so we're having Lollapalooza. It's happening right now. And you have to be vaccinated to attend. So, like at the door, you have to show either proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test. They said 90% of people are showing their vaccination card. 8% are showing a negative COVID test, and then 2% are being turned away for having neither. Um, but they're still expecting it to be a super spreader event. And they said that,
because even if they have a negative COVID test or they're vaccinated, they could still have COVID.
exactly.
Just not flagging a positive test, or because they're vaccinated, they didn't have to get tested.
Yeah. So they're
And they're being
expecting
asymptomatic, because they're vaccinated. They've got it, but they're
100,000 people every single day, Friday through Sunday in Grant Park, just next to each other. Now, I did just see an article before we started that said that Saturday and Sunday they are now requiring masks. So that's cool, but how are you going to police it? There's 100,000 people there, like, and honestly, like, I don't know how much the people that like that demographic. I'm sure that they care a lot more than like older generations seem to, but they're also like 18 to 35 maybe, if not 30 and younger. So I don't know like how much they care about masking and such. So that was a little, I'm curious to see where our case count goes on Monday. Um, but here's a fun one for you. Cruises are starting up again. So Royal Caribbean has a cruise going out, and they are allowing unvaccinated people on the cruise ship, which to me is baffling because that is how Like that was a huge thing at the beginning of the pandemic. People were literally stuck on ships because they
Yeah.
had COVID. And so they're letting them be on the ships. They're sailing from Miami, of course, because of course they are. So it says that they separate you by wristband. If you have been vaccinated, you get a wristband. If you have not been vaccinated, you don't get one. And if you're vaccinated, you get full access to the whole ship. And if you're unvaccinated, you can't go to any of the like paying restaurants. You can't go to the casino, the bar, the spa, the nightclub, the art auctions, which why does a cruise ship have art auctions? Either way,
Why even
pool.
go on a cruise if you can't go to anything? Like, I
That's
want to stay in
exactly
my
it.
room the whole time.
And you can't go to the theme park. And it said that the unvaccinated can eat on one level of the main dining hall. And this includes families with kids who stay together because, as you know, kids under 12 cannot get vaccinated. So if you have children with you, you're automatically stuck with the
If you
unvaccinated
take
people.
children on a cruise during the middle of a pandemic, then you're fucking
People
retarded
do.
anyways.
Like they do. They're going to take their children on this cruise, and people don't realize that like kids can't get vaccinated. Like they are the vulnerable population now. Like
Yeah.
they are the ones we need to protect because we don't know that. I've seen so many things where they're like, well, kids are fine. It's not, it's not bad for them. We don't know that. Like we
No,
keep,
I mean, here in Arkansas, we've already had a couple kids die
yeah,
of the Delta variant. And we've got our children's hospitals completely full of kids on ventilators and stuff right now.
exactly. And that
Like,
has long-term
like
effects.
they're having to send our children to Texas right now because our
I have seen
hospitals are
that.
full of
Yeah,
children.
Texas and I think Missouri is also sending them to Texas.
I
Um,
know Oklahoma was full, Arkansas was full, the children's hospital in Memphis was full, and I feel like St. Louis was full, so we were having to send them down to Texas.
yeah. And there's still people that are complaining that kids might have to wear masks to school in September.
So what? Yeah, and you know
Like,
what I just bought the other day? Extra masks for Sagan.
yeah.
So
Like,
that
go
he's
ahead,
just
walk through that
plenty.
children's hospital ward and
Right.
tell me that that's better than your
Go
kid
ask the
wearing it.
parents that have lost a child and ask them if they would rather their kid be wearing a mask or die.
It's so crazy. And, I don't get it. And like taking a cruise right now seems unnecessarily risky. Taking your children on a cruise, going on a cruise is dangerous enough. Like,
Like when the cases aren't soaring like this and it was a lot lower, it was different. Like I could see, if there's only two people out of every 500,000 people that have it and they're likely at home quarantining, then yeah, obviously go ahead and go do some things. Just be a little bit more cautious. Make sure you're washing your hands. Don't be kissing on random people. You know what I mean? Like, don't just use common sense. But as much as it's soaring right now, like, don't go out and do those things. Like, I've taken Sagan to Walmart, I don't know how many times, but he's not going to Walmart anymore because the cases are too high and I'm not going to risk it.
I
Just things like just have common sense.
I had two different events that I wanted to go to this weekend. One, my favorite band is playing tonight, um, and I chose not to go because honestly, the amount of cases is concerning right now. I don't want to be in a bar, especially because officially there's not a mask mandate, and I can wear a mask, sure, but if everybody around me is not wearing a mask, I mean, I could still risk getting sick, and I just don't know that I want to take that chance for a band,
Right.
unfortunately. Um, but yeah, so the people that are taking cruises, I don't know why, because it doesn't sound fun. And then also they have extra fees. They have to pay for a COVID test before they get on the ship. And then like daily COVID tests, they're also paying for those. And then they also are not allowed to get off at certain ports because certain ports are like, if you're not vaccinated, we don't want you here. So it's like, why are you even booking a cruise?
Yeah, just forget it.
But yeah, so that I thought that was crazy. This Delta variant is freaking me out. And I want everybody to get vaccinated. And I want this to just like, honestly, I want masks to be normal at this point.
Yeah.
I get it that everybody wants to go back to their mask free life, but fuck it. Let's be like the Asian countries where if you have the sniffles, put on a mask because you care
Yeah.
about other people. If you just like want to wear a mask, you can just wear a mask because it's normal there. More people wear them than don't.
Yeah.
And I wish that we were like that. And I wish we cared about our fellow human beings
I do
more.
too because like I said, I live in Arkansas and there's a lot of meth mouth around here. And I
Yeah.
really like when everyone's wearing a mask
I,
because I don't
yeah.
want to look at the rotten teeth and the. Because I'm very much I don't like bad teeth. Like, I sound like such a bitch right now, but like if they're crooked or whatever, I don't care about that. It's when they're rotten and
Yeah.
nasty and it's like, that's such a dirty mouth. Like, I like dirty mouths that are dirty because they say bad words, not
Yeah.
because they smell really bad. I don't want to have to smell them.
That's the problem too. And so many people
You
just
know,
like
I'm about smells. Like,
don't,
I don't like
so many people just like don't brush their teeth. I have dated multiple men who do not brush their teeth daily and it doesn't even like phase them. And I just look at them and I'm like, how? How do you get
yeah,
up in
brush
the
your teeth.
morning and just like choose to not brush your teeth?
It's just,
And it's gross. Like PSA, brush your teeth, wear your mask.
yeah. Um, so the Olympics have been a big topic of discussion, and I actually wanted to bring something up.
Mm-hmm.
You know how the Simone Biles thing and her stepping down
Yeah.
from the team competition due to her mental health. I'm so proud of her for doing that. Um, so I suffer from mental health issues, and I actually that's partly one of the reasons we haven't been recording. Is I've been going through a lot of stress in life, like with my family. Um, Anthony, they think, has had a minor heart attack, possibly. His EKG was abnormal after he was having shoulder and chest issues. And so he hasn't been able to work for over a week now, um, waiting on getting more testing done and waiting on the insurance to approve everything. And so while we've been dealing with that, my grandmother had to have surgery on her bladder for a tumor. And they weren't sure what it was when they went in. They were pretty confident it was cancer because just a few months ago, so she has an abdominal aneurysm that they regularly scan like every 6 months,
Oh my gosh.
an eye on, because it's been there for years. It's not doing anything, but they want to keep an eye on it.
Right.
So at the last scan that they had done, which was a couple months ago, there was nothing there, and they did it. And then she started having blood whenever she was using the bathroom. So she went in and they did another scan, even though it only been a couple months. They did another scan and there was a massive tumor on her bladder. So it grew really, really quick. So they removed that. Was that yesterday or the day before? I don't even remember. So
I
I've
think
been
it was
having
yesterday.
mental health issues. So my time is all fucked up. Um, so they removed that. It had grown even more and is already in the muscle, which is not a good sign. So we're going to be doing a PET scan this next week to see where else it may be, if it is anywhere else. And I'm really close to my grandmother. So my mom died whenever um, I was in my 20s. I'm going to cry. So my mom died, and I was never really close to my mom, but I've always been close to my granny. So I'm just really having trouble dealing with that. Don't you cry too.
I
It's
can't
crazy.
help. You have
Well,
to look up at the
that's
light.
not that's not all. One of my cousins, Monday night had a 22-minute seizure, and her heart stopped for 7 minutes. So she's unresponsive. They're pretty sure that she's brain dead. Um, so we've had the heart attack, my granny's thing, this cousin, and then I have another cousin that has an issue that I'm not allowed to speak on. She's got children, and she's not telling anyone yet. So all that just like in the last week, and
That, that's a lot.
it's just been too much to deal with. So I've really been struggling with my mental health, and um, So I'm sure most people that watch our show, although there's probably only like two people that watch, but don't know it. But I do have suicidal issues. I've tried to commit suicide. I've put myself in ICU um, by overdosing, and so I've been struggling this week. And I also have PTSD, and I used to take medication for it, and I stopped taking medication about a year ago um, because I was doing great with it. I wasn't having issues with it. It was getting better, and maybe not even a year ago, maybe like 6 months ago. But I've been hallucinating really bad, and so I've started medication for that. Um, to try and get rid of that. But I think that all the trauma that I've been dealing with this past week is triggering my PTSD and making that stuff worse. Um, so uh, I've been dealing with a lot this week,
Yeah.
and seeing Simone be so open about I'm having mental health issues. This is why I'm not, and it being a broadcast thing for those of us who do have mental health issues who are always told just snap out of it, it's okay. Seeing someone that is as strong as her and that's literally an Olympic gold medalist
Yeah.
have mental issues and realize that they're having those and know that that takes precedence over a competition and over everything she's worked for, her mental health still comes first. Um, it helped me feel more normal. So,
Yeah. I
yeah.
love that I love that she did too. I actually found an interesting fact about that as well. So she actually did not want to compete that day at all. What she was suffering from was what gymnasts call the twisties, which is basically just she couldn't she couldn't find her up from her down. So it's extremely dangerous, especially for gymnasts. The vault that she was doing, she meant to spin 2.5 times. She only spun 1.5 and she couldn't see the ground. She said that she felt off that morning, but because she had already done the pre qualifying events, she was not able to be swapped out with another gymnast. Um, so even though she said that she was feeling off, she still competed for her team, which is commendable. But I really wish that she had the ability to drop out, and, because
Yeah.
it was super dangerous. And there was actually another Olympic athlete from years ago who posted a video to show just how dangerous what happened to her was. She was, I think, 12 or 14, and I forget her name, but she was very famous, and she was also a medalist. She was doing uh, I want to say trampoline, but it's not a balance beam. She was on the balance beam. Um, she was actually she flipped, she landed on her skull, like head down. She got off the beam. They didn't do any type of exam. She said that no doctor looked at her, and she did have to compete later that day as well. She goes, honestly, I had spinal issues and nobody thought to get me checked out by a doctor. So, like,
Yeah.
the fact that this could have been so dangerous, one of her fellow athletes said, at the minimum, she would have blown a knee. At the maximum, she could have paralyzed herself.
Yeah.
Doing 1.5 flips instead of the 2.5 she was expecting.
Yeah. And the thing is like with mental health, it fucks with everything else because you can't focus, you can't think clearly, you can't like grasp reality around you. And if it can fuck with someone that is that disciplined and that, like, imagine how it is for us who are not successful, wonderful,
Jeez.
people who are that disciplined and that, trained and even have the muscle memory to do those things, and like that's how detrimental mental health is. Like it fucks with everything, and people ignore that,
They do.
especially the people that don't have mental health issues. Like, and it's not that we choose to have mental health
No,
issues. Like for
no
my
one wants this.
trauma when I was a child, I mean, and it fucks with everything. Um,
Yeah, the
I'm
people that
so
are
glad she stepped
attacking
down because
her.
if she would have continued, and like I was watching those games. I actually that's why I got Peacock was so I could watch the Olympic because I love the
Oh,
gymnastics and the swimming.
yeah.
Um, so I got it so that I could watch those, and I was watching those, and every time she was performing, I was like, "That is not like her." Like she said,
Did
"What is
you
going on?"
did you see too that they also said that they cannot score her at her actual level because
Yeah,
she's too good?
yeah, and
Like they
that's
said that
bullshit too. Like to me, that's abuse in itself. Like,
it
oh, you're
is.
too good, so we're not going to give you an equal scoring. Like, if she was a man, would they have done that to her?
Yeah, like it was one
Like,
of
I
those
don't
things
think
where you're
so.
like, their reasoning behind it was that the tricks that she does, if anybody tried to replicate them, they would get seriously injured. And it's like, and that's just a testament to how
How
amazing she
amazing she
is.
is. Yeah.
Like she deserves the full scores, and how fucking dare you? And that too. I mean, honestly, to have somebody say that to you, that also fucked with her mental health.
While
And
you're already suffering mental health issues and then being told you're too good, so we're gonna like
like
devalue what
I
you're doing because of
I
it.
commend her so much for stepping back. Another athlete, um, I want to say it's Naomi Osaka. Um, she was supposed to compete in the Olympics, and she stepped back for mental health as well. She refused to do a post press interview at the French Open, and they fined her $15,000 because she didn't want to talk to the press, and they didn't let her compete. And it was this whole thing. And she said, she goes, my mental health is more important than this.
Yeah.
And people attacked her too. And it's like, they're not puppets, they're fucking people.
Yeah.
Like, they're real people that, like, those things hurt, you
One
know?
other thing I did notice about our gymnasts for the USA this year, um, like the Jordan Childs, is that her name?
I'm not sure.
She's a black woman that's on the team as well. Um, and then the uh, Soon is that her name? Wish I could remember their names. I can't think
I'll
clearly.
look them up. You tell the story.
Um, they're not skeletons.
Yeah.
I love that they're realistic, that they have real bodies. There was one of the Russian gymnasts that was performing that I'm telling you, she looked like a skeleton. She did really, really well, but she looked like a skeleton. And I thought, our gymnasts look so much more healthy. Even if they only won the silver, next to their gold, they look healthy. And that's such a good
Yeah.
thing to teach the young people of our uh, country that are coming up and will be the future, Olympians. Um, but like,
Uh,
I didn't see a thigh gap, like just they had muscles, they were
yeah, they look
strong, and
strong.
yeah,
I
they looked like
love
they could beat some
they're
ass.
not,
Like,
yeah,
they were
they're not
so
these
strong.
little waifs that are
Yeah,
just
that's
like
what I'm saying.
flipping and
That one of the
twirling.
girls on the Russian one, she was so skinny, and I was like, oh my god, like I feel like she's gonna break something. And I'm not by any means saying she was too skinny because that was just her figure, but
Yeah.
that's what you're used to in gymnastics is a lot of super skinny ones. And so I was just really happy to see other shapes other than that.
I mean, gymnastics used to be, they used to have to starve themselves because they had to be like a certain weight, a certain size, a certain look. And if you didn't have that gymnast body, and it's so crazy. And I love that, like, we have the diversity that we do. Um, because like it wasn't healthy. You did have athletes who were like starving themselves and like overtraining, and it causes bone issues, and it's such a
Yeah.
hard
But it
sport. And
made me
people,
wonder if that's why some of these are lasting longer in it than they used to, because used to they didn't, by the time they were out of their teens, they're pretty much done with
oh
their
my God,
career.
yeah, there's so many
And
athletes
now
that
they're
are in their
they're like
20s,
almost 30.
30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Uh,
they're still competing. I was
oh,
shocked.
heck
I didn't realize that. I always thought that like the Olympics had like a cutoff for age, but no, if you qualify, you fucking qualify. And I love that.
yeah.
Um, with gymnastics too, the German team, they have full body
Yeah, I
leotard.
loved that. And I thought
Loved.
they looked better too.
I
So
do
I did
too.
gymnastics growing up. Um, and I remember I used to wear like shorts underneath my leotard when I was really young.
Yeah.
I was not comfortable. And like when I would just wear the leotard, like when you're doing like your butterfly stretches and things like that, I would feel like my stuff was exposed. Um,
Well, and you get knocked for
at like
that too.
7, I was embarrassed because I felt like my privates were exposed whenever I was doing certain things.
They say that
Um,
they have to double-sided tape because the leotards do move
yeah,
and you get docked. If their bra strap shows, they get docked and you're like, they're
just let them
flipping
wear
through the
something that covers
air.
them, then you don't have to worry about it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
they had full body leotards and I thought
I
they looked
loved it.
so good.
I would have loved that when I did gymnastics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope that that's the norm. I and then the best part about that story too was that it said that the girls came to that decision as a team. The four of them decided that they wanted to wear that, but they also have the option. So they said, you know, we don't always want to wear these. Sometimes we do
Yeah.
want to wear the traditional leotard, and we have the option to choose. And I love that.
Yeah.
Unlike the Norwegian handball beach handball team
Right.
who got fined because they
For
didn't want to wear bikini bottoms.
yeah, which is such bullshit.
Well, and they said too, they're like, well, it hinders performance. So the team took
Yeah,
a
because it's
picture
gonna go up
next to
the crack
their
of your butt and stuff, and you're
they took a
constantly messing
picture
with
next to their male counterparts who were wearing loose shorts and loose tank tops, and these girls are in sports bras, bikini bottoms, and they're like, explain how it hinders the
right.
performance. Like,
Yeah, I think the
what?
bikini does. Like I said, you're gonna be
I would agree.
messing with it, going up the crack of your butt, or slipping and sliding and not fitting just right on your stomach area, so then they want to slide because like me, I don't have an ass. So things sometimes don't want to stay up. Like
They said
it
too
just
that there's
blows
like
my mind.
there's
And
rules for it. They said that it can't cover more than like 10 centimeters of their butt. And you're like, it can't cover more than 10
right.
centimeters? Are you joking? And it has to be high waisted. For what purpose?
Yeah, it's bullshit.
So the Olympics for the beach handball gets a big old thumbs down for me. But Superstar Pink has offered to
That's
pay
also
the
great.
fine for them.
Yeah.
But so did I think either the Olympic Committee also offered to pay it or Norway like government offered. And then they did say that they are going to be revisiting this because it's not fair. So good for them because it's not.
Yeah.
And people were comparing it to swimming where they're like, oh, so should swimmers wear full trunks? It's like, yeah, if they fucking
If
want
they want to wear
to.
a full wetsuit, let them fucking wear a full
Yeah.
wetsuit. Who
Like
cares?
if that's what they want to wear, like
That's
I
how
am
you're
all for.
comfortable, then wear it.
Yeah, like if you don't feel it hinders your performance, do it. Like the
That's
reason that
on
they wear
you.
those,
That's your performance. I mean, if you're willing to hinder your performance.
yes, that's why the swimmers wear such tiny speedos because they want that like thing. They also shave their entire bodies. Some of them
Yeah.
only shave like some of them shave their fucking eyebrows. They shave their eyebrows because they thought that they would go faster. And
Yeah.
like, fuck it. If you think you're gonna go faster with no eyebrows, shave your eyebrows.
Like I feel like if I was in a full wetsuit, I would go faster because it would help hold all my little rolls and stuff down so that they're not
Well,
flapping in the water while I'm
well,
trying.
you forget these are Olympic athletes who have zero
Yeah, well,
rolls.
I'm just saying for me,
Yeah.
I think the wetsuit would help me, not hinder me.
But yeah, like I would love to see like a full revamp of Olympic rules for that stuff because you should get to wear whatever you want within reason. I mean, if it should be inclusive. Like,
What was the one thing about the was it fencing or polo or what was it?
oh,
That the team wearing the pink masks because
yeah,
that one
I'll
member.
get to, I want to go through just a couple quick other things because the fencing one is long. There's a lot of information and it's all very upsetting. So I want to go through a couple more like quick things. So another issue that the Olympics is having, Laurel Hubbard is a transgender woman weightlifter from New Zealand. She's the first openly trans woman at the Olympics, and she competed on Monday in the 87 kilogram category. She's 43 years old, born and competed as a male before she transitioned in her 30s to female. She reached the IOC guidelines for trans athletes, and then once she did, she began competing at an elite level again. People are criticizing her for her appearance. So she does look very masculine, and people are like, that's unfair. She's not a woman. She's not this. It's like she meets the IOC guidelines for being a woman. Like when your hormones are at that level, you don't have as much strength as the men.
You're not gonna have the same performance as the men will have because now she's got the same makeup as a woman.
Yeah.
So
And like to base it just off of how she looked, like you can't control how your body
I mean, when I don't
adjusts
have
to the
makeup
hormone.
on and I'm looking like shit, I look pretty manly too. So
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just one
I
of
can
those
look
things
pretty
where
manly.
I thought that was crazy. And the poor woman, she's known as a reluctant trailblazer. She rarely does interviews and says that she wants to be alone, left alone to pursue her sport. And now she's the center of attention, and her team is like, we're sheltering her from social media because people are being assholes. And one of the reasons that she's like even in the news like this, she was ranked the 16th place when she entered the games. But the reason that she's ranking so high right now is because a lot of the high ranking rivals had to drop out because of COVID. So if all these other high ranking rivals, there are women who would have beat her in this competition,
Yeah.
most likely. And nobody cares. They're like, well, she's a man, and which is so ridiculous.
She's not a man though. She's a
She's
woman.
not. No,
Like I don't know why anybody even gives a shit about what gender somebody else is.
it's
Like,
because they think it's unfair. And it's like, it's not. Like, if she beats you, she beats you. Try harder.
yeah.
So that was an upsetting one. There's another one for swimming. I don't know if you've heard this out of the Paralympics. Becca Myers, she is a deaf and blind Paralympian who quit Team USA after being told that her personal care assistant could not attend. Um, so in 2016, yes, I know it's very upsetting. In 2016 in Rio, she did not have a personal care assistant, and she could not find the dining hall. And as a result of that, she was literally just curled up in a ball, just like crying because she couldn't find the dining hall to feed herself. And after that, she said, I will never be without a personal care assistant again because obviously she needs to eat. Before her competition, her parents were able to find her, get food in her. She went on to win 3 gold medals. However, nobody should be in a ball crying because they can't find the fucking dining room. So she has had a personal care assistant, her mother, Maria, for the past 5 years. It's agreed upon. The Olympic committee is like, cool, that's totally fine. We're all for it. 5 weeks before the Tokyo Games, they said, no, your personal care assistant is not allowed to come.
If
Um,
your coach can come, why the fuck can't your care assistant
well, here's what they're saying. They're saying that because Tokyo Tokyo's having a COVID outbreak, and they're still holding the Olympics. Originally, the people of Tokyo were going to be allowed to be spectators, but the COVID outbreak got so bad that they said, you know what, not even Tokyo people can be there, and we're going to limit the amount of people that are allowed to be there. So um, they have, see, I have this here. There are 34 athletes on the Paralympic swim team, and this is how they have who they have to help them. One personal care assistant and 6 coaches for 34 disabled athletes. So I fully support Becca as well for dropping out of the Olympics because they said that she couldn't have her personal care assistant. It's not like she wanted to bring 12 family members. She wanted to bring somebody who could assist her because one personal care assistant that's trained and 6 coaches for 34 disabled athletes with varying disabilities, I assume, is not enough.
No.
And they should have made accommodations for that. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous that they
It's
didn't.
absolutely discriminatory that they are not making accommodations for them.
I agree. Yeah. So that was a very upsetting one.
Like,
I
if
happy.
someone goes that is diabetic, are you going to tell them they can't have their insulin pump? something that's necessary for them to make it through the day. Like,
I mean, it's
I'm like
possible.
anti-Olympics at this point. Like,
Honestly, the
got it
amount
down.
of the amount of things that I've seen the news stories, like I do have a couple positive ones, but honestly, this Olympics has been an absolute nightmare. They're also the athletes didn't have to be vaccinated. So all of the like coaches and the support staff and the workers there have to be vaccinated, but the athletes do not. And that actually part of it was because the athletes are like afraid of the COVID vaccine will impact their performance, which I understand to a degree. And the other part of it is a lot of these countries do not have the access to the vaccines that like Team USA does. And they said some of the first people to test positive were two soccer players, a rugby coach, and a video editor from South Africa. Um, South Africa has a 3% vaccination rate, and they tested negative when they left, they tested negative when they arrived, and then in the daily tests, they did test positive a couple days later, so they had to obviously withdraw. And then there was the whole thing of like, should athletes be prioritized over vulnerable populations? And it's a real like, so that was the whole thing. The people of Tokyo, which is going through a very bad outbreak of COVID, were protesting outside of the opening ceremonies that they're even holding the Olympics. I don't think they should have held the Olympics. I think it was a
Yeah.
mistake. But in happy news, Hidalyn Diaz is a weightlifter who won the first ever Olympic gold medal for the Philippines. So this is the first medal that they have ever won,
I
and it
saw
was a
that.
woman.
I saw that.
Yeah, so and it was a woman in weightlifting, and they actually, she's an Air Force service woman. It was her fourth games. She won silver in 2016. She was a flag bearer in 2012.
I can take a test. I have some tests here.
I was gonna say,
I can take one and show people how easy they are. Okay.
but something interesting that came out of this, I did not know this. Olympic athletes get paid for medals. I did not know this. I genuinely thought that they got like it was just recognition and endorsements. No, this woman is getting about $653,000 and a house from the government. USA athletes, I did find out, only get like $37,000 for the gold. It's probably because we win so many that they can't be giving away like hundreds of thousands of dollars to
Yeah.
every single one of them. But
Yeah, we
I,
can.
we should.
We
Um,
can.
Simone Biles deserves them all. Like, give her 20 houses. But yeah, that was an interesting one. Skateboarding is a sport in the Olympics this year, first time. And the champion is a 13-year-old Japanese woman. She's the youngest Olympic medalist to ever compete in the Olympics. She won the silver in the 2019 and 2021 X Games. And all three medalists in the skateboarding event were teenagers, two 13-year-olds and a 16-year-old. So like I thought that was super cool that like we have skateboarding now in the Olympics and we
I
had a
liked
13-year-old that
skateboarding when
won.
I was a kid.
Huh?
I liked skateboarding when I was a kid.
Yeah. I think it's cute. Um this one was upsetting. It's the last one before we get into that douchebag fencer. Um Beth Shriver had to crowdfund her way to the Olympics. She won the gold for Team Great Britain in BMX racing, but she had to raise £50,000, which is about $70,000, after leaving Team Great Britain to compete solo because Team Great Britain decided to only fund male riders.
What?
Yes, they decided that they would only fund male riders going to the Olympics. So she worked as
Why?
a teaching assistant and a nursery aide to raise money along with just like crowdfunding to get to the Olympics, where she won a gold medal. So fuck you, Great Britain.
Right? That's insane.
Yeah. Um,
Especially like
so,
a co-ed thing. Like,
and I, we're hearing all of these stories
Like, why don't we just not buy the queen that extra dress this week, and then you could fund this chick? What the fuck?
I think it's so crazy that that was even a thing that they were like, oh, women don't need to compete in this. It's like, really? How douchebaggy are you? Like, if I was like, I would have been like, I'm competing for myself and I'm not going to, this win is for me, not for Great Britain. Fuck
Right?
y'all. Like this win is for takes out the list of all the people that funded her. Like,
Yeah.
I thought that was absolutely insane that that was a thing. And I feel
Put
like
this
I've
on the
never heard this many
GoFundMe.
negative things about the Olympics. Like I thought the Olympics was always like a happy, joyous event. And this year, every time that I look at the news, I'm just like, they fucking did what? They fined these women what? Like, um, but this is possibly the most upsetting story to come out of the Olympics. Alan Hadzik is a fencer from the United States who is allowed to compete in the Olympics, even though he is accused of sexual assault.
Yeah, so a thing about that really pisses me off is that the other woman who tested positive for THC gets banned, but he can go sexually assault people and still get to do it. She did nothing to hurt anyone else. It doesn't, it's not performance enhancing, and she gets banned just for partaking in something that they don't want her to. But he can go fucking molest or rape or do whatever the fuck he did, but that's okay. He's literally a harm to others.
Yeah. So
That pisses me off.
you're about to get even more upset because honestly, I wrote down pretty much this entire article because every single line was more upsetting than the last. So it says 10 days after he took the alternate spot on the U.S. Olympic team, a group of women took their concerns to the Olympic Committee. 6 female fencers, including 2 Olympic athletes, wrote to the Olympic Committee saying that he should not be allowed to represent Team USA due to being investigated for at least 3 accusations of sexual misconduct reported to the Center for Safe Sport. Now, Safe Sport is a committee that was created by Congress after the Larry Nassar issues with gymnastics in 2018 and is there to protect athletes from abuse. So he's reported to Safe Sport for this. And 10 other people submitted statements to support the allegation. So 3 women came forward and said, he sexually assaulted me. And 10 other women said, we have observed behavior that, yes, they are telling the truth. And he is somehow still allowed to compete for Team USA.
I mean, technically, it really is a good representation of the United States, though.
I know I saw that and I was
Being
like, if this
completely
ain't the most
honest.
US thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So Safe Sport actually suspended him from international competition and he fought to get the prohibition lifted through arbitration and ultimately won. And it's somewhere else in my notes, but basically the arbitrator said it's unfair to not let him compete because he could have done a good job in the Olympics. Like he
Well, the
deserved
girl with
a spot.
THC could have done a good fucking job, too.
Yeah, so it was one of those things where I was like, and the second that I saw that the arbitrator, like that was his reasoning, and I don't know it was a man, but I assume it was for that reasoning.
Maybe he shouldn't
It
go around fucking sexually harassing and assaulting people, and then
it
he could
made
do a
me
good job.
it made me think of that swimmer, Brock something or other, um, who
That's exactly what
literally
I was
was
thinking, too.
caught red-handed sexually assaulting somebody, and the judge gave him three
Raping
months
someone.
community service because he has a bright future ahead of him.
Yeah. Fuck him.
Like he sexually assaulted somebody and you have multiple witnesses and you're going to let him off because he has a bright future. Are you joking? You're going to let this one compete in the Olympics because he qualified? So the really upsetting part, um, the USA Fencing, who is the athletic federation in charge of selecting the Olympic competitors, created a safety plan to keep him away from women and out of the Olympic Village. He literally has a plan to keep him away from women, and we're letting him compete in the Olympics. He flew on a separate plane from the rest of the team and is staying in a hotel 30 minutes outside of the Olympic Village. He
Oh,
also
that's
won't,
safe. So let's go bring COVID into everybody else
yeah,
because he's unsafe to be around everybody.
He also won't be allowed to practice along female teammates. After he appealed these conditions, the entire Team USA signed a letter demanding the restrictions stay in place. So USA Fencing said, this is the conditions. He said, no, I don't like that. And then the entirety of Team USA for fencing said, no, we want these restrictions to stay. Like, honestly, if my entire team
I would be like, I
felt that
don't
way,
think I need to be there
I don't
since
want to be there.
everybody hates me.
And that's what you were saying. So his entire team is wearing pink masks to support the women that he sexually abused, and he's wearing a black mask because he's not part of it. So they interviewed 30 current and former USA fencers and officials, including the 3 women who formally accused him of sexual misconduct, that to show a pattern of sexual misconduct and violent behavior going back to 2010. So when he was a first-year student at Columbia University. He denies the abuse allegations, saying that they're untruths, and his lawyer said that his client never committed acts of sexual assault. And his lawyer said that by barring him from the Olympic Village, he is being denied the Olympic experience that he earned. Yeah. USA Fencing says Safe Sport
It would
has.
be one thing if he had one allegation and there was nobody supporting that. Everyone, although even still, I mean, you're going to want to investigate it. But when you've got 3 different ones, plus all these other people saying, yeah, he's fucking creepy and a weirdo and he makes me uncomfortable. Like,
It gets worse.
walks like a duck and quacks like a duck. It
Yeah.
is a duck.
And the fact that he's fighting so hard against it, like, I don't understand why he would want to compete, honestly. Like, if all of this stuff was coming out about me, I would be like, you know what? Even if I'm the best
I
fencer in the
wouldn't,
world,
if he is a wholesome person that would never harass, assault anybody,
yeah,
then he would be the top to say, all these people are uncomfortable with me, and I don't
I'm
want to
not going to
invade
compete.
that space.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Well,
make them uncomfortable, but
here's
clearly he doesn't give a shit about that.
the best part about it. He's not officially on the Olympic fencing team. He's the alternate. So he didn't even fully qualify for the team. He qualified to be an alternate. And this is all happening. So USA Fencing said that Safe Sport has exclusive authority in cases involving sexual misconduct, and it does not consider unproven allegations of sexual abuse when determining who qualifies for the Olympic team. So since it wasn't proven, he obviously didn't sexually assault anyone and everything's fine. But we're still going to keep a plan in place so he's not around women. So his fellow fencer said that he was fine in high school, but in 2010, when he started at Columbia University, his reputation evolved. 25 of his peers and teammates said that he could turn on and off like a light switch. And a former captain said at times he was very scary to be around, especially when drinking. One former teammate said that when they were walking home from a bar, she witnessed him kick an unhoused person who was sleeping on the ground and then laugh about it. A former fencer who dated him on and off for a year said their last interaction left her upset and shaken. She stated that during a sexual encounter in his dorm room that she wanted to stop, and she told him. He berated her and pressured her to continue, and she was one of the people who submitted a report to Safe Sport for sexual coercion. During his time at Columbia, there was a whisper network around saying that he could be a little too pushy, don't get too close to him, and don't be alone with him, especially at parties. This information came from 12 women who knew him at the time. The allegations included him following them into bedrooms at parties, ignoring multiple rebuffs, trying to kiss them, and touching without their consent. 10 sources who fenced with him said that his MO was to find the drunkest woman at a party, preferably a first-year student, because she'll do whatever you want. One woman who is currently in Tokyo with him stated that in 2013 at a party her first year when he was in his 3rd year, she was feeling nauseous, went to lay down. He followed her into a bedroom and tried to take advantage of her. She brushed him off multiple times and recalled someone else came into the room, allowing her to leave. She reported the incident this May. And then later in
So the Olympic Committee or whoever, the safe committee or whatever, doesn't give a shit about the trauma she went through with him and how that will affect her performance. But let's make sure his performance is
who he's not even competing. That's the worst part. She is competing. He's not competing unless one of the other people. And honestly, I bet his team is like, if you break an arm, if you lose a leg, you still need to compete. So this asshole doesn't get to.
Yeah.
They also said later in 2013, another fencer formally accused him of sexually abusing her in a dorm room during a party. Title IX investigation. Columbia suspended him from campus for a year, but 10 Columbia fencers claimed he ignored those rules, would linger on campus, would show up at parties and hangouts, and would, while suspended, would go to other schools and party. They also said that at a party at Penn State, while he was still suspended from Columbia, he went and he bragged while laughing about having sex with a younger woman who was seen crying later that night. And someone did file a report to Safe Sport about that event as well. And even though he was under a suspension from Columbia University for sexual abuse, he was still allowed to pursue his degree and compete at a national level. He was not allowed to represent the university, but he did compete in multiple national competitions and won. And they said that because he's just like a really good fencer, that's why they allowed it, which is bullshit.
I don't give a fuck.
I don't either. And they said that there's a board that like makes these decisions, and one of the members of the board was one of his former coaches who multiple team captains had gone to with issues, and the other members of the board were like, we've never heard of these allegations, we had no idea this was happening. If he had like done this, we absolutely would have kicked him off the team. And then the board member, who's his former coach, like refuses to answer any questions about it. So an absolute conflict of interest. And honestly, I feel like if you are on a board, it's your responsibility to look into the history of every single member. And I know it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that it is just like a fuck ton of people. But I mean, they missed so many years of sexual abuse, and he qualified for the Olympics. So yeah, so it just, it makes no sense to me.
No.
And then they did talk about Safe Sport as a whole. They said that a survey of female fencers in 2018 concluded that of the 218 respondents, 129 have been sexually harassed by another member of the fencing community, and 41% have been sexually assaulted by someone within the sport. But only 3 assaults have been reported to Safe Sport. They said that the hesitancy is because the organization has a spotty reputation in the fencing community, and that the quality of the investigation depends on the investigator you get. At least 5 fencers who have filed complaints about the agency said that the agency got basic facts wrong, didn't interview key witnesses before clearing the alleged abuser, or took too long to investigate abuses. One woman said that it took 3 to 4 years for a suspected abuser to be banned for life. And then a male fencer said that Safe Sport is a joke and he has no trust in it. And then this one was a really upsetting story. This woman says that she filed a complaint after a male referee had repeatedly stalked her. Then one night after a tournament, he cornered her in a bar and threatened to kill her dog if she didn't have sex with him. Then months later, the man pressured her roommate to give him a copy of their room key to assault her. And thankfully, somebody intervened before he could harm her. She reported the incidents to Safe Sport in 2019. The case wasn't closed until earlier this year. She had 3 different investigators, and none of her witnesses said that they were contacted. She agreed to drop the claim in exchange for the man getting counseling. Safe Sport operates on an $11 million budget. They received 1,800 reports of misconduct that were handled by a staff of under 40 employees. In 2020, a new law required the budget to be raised to 20 million, and they did hire additional investigators. But that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I also wouldn't come forward with something like that if they're not even investigating, they're not talking to your witnesses, they're not closing cases.
So people who are Olympians, do they have like background checks and everything?
I don't think so.
So like why don't they just implement background checks, and like you're not allowed to have criminal convictions or something? And then when something like that happens, you just report it to the police. And once they
I
get
think
charged with that, then they're banned. You know what I mean?
I think something like that in the United States will work, but I think on like an Olympic level, I don't know what, because the Safe Sport is for the
Oh.
United States only. And then there's a separate Olympic committee. So when Safe Sport failed these women, they went to the Olympic committee and they were like, please don't let him compete. And the Olympic committee was like, sucks, he gets to. And like, what do you even do with that? Like, how
He's
do you
feeling in a
support
moment of mental instability,
like
complete insanity.
like I have such a hard
It's
time.
not legal advice.
Like I have such a hard time like rooting for Team USA this year
Yeah.
because the Spencer, the fact that we didn't let somebody get an aide come with them, the fact that our country is being so shitty to Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, like we don't care about anything.
Hmm. Which is, like I said, a perfect representation of our country.
Yeah. Like all these
Shit,
stories.
everything's shit.
I know I'm like hoping I'm like, okay, like are there good stories? And like there are, but like not as many. And like the other countries also don't have as many good stories. It's just like nothing's happy. I used to think the Olympics were just this like happy, fun sport. And then like reading all this and looking at this, I'm like, maybe I just never paid attention to the Olympics before, but like all anybody cares about is the winning, you
Yeah.
know. And they said for the Olympics as a whole that Tokyo agrees that they should have canceled the Olympics, but that when they realized it, it was too late and that they figured they should just do it.
Well, we'll find out what the consequences of that are over the next few weeks and months.
Yeah. So yeah, the Olympics as a whole, and we still have another week. There's still one more week of competitions. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. The fencer story upset me the most. I'm super happy for Simone Biles. And she actually did post a video today because she wanted to show people, which is so crazy. She's such a fantastic and pure human that even though she's going through all of this, she's still like posting things for us. Like she's not doing it for herself. She's posting it to like show exactly what this is. Like she was doing, I think you were saying earlier, she was doing a flip and she kind of landed weird and it was on training on the bars. Um, but she posted it because she's like, this is real. This is what happens. This is, you know, and she's doing it so like to raise awareness so that mental health can be the front and
Yeah, I
center.
normally follow her Facebook page. I've deleted my Facebook. I didn't delete my account, but I deleted the app so that I can't scroll because with my mental health not doing well, I was like the people who aren't vaccinating and that stressing me out and seeing all those numbers and all the things that are posted and all the other drama that's constant. I just can't handle that right now. So I deleted my Facebook app. So I haven't been on Facebook, but normally I follow her. And she had like a 4-part series. Um, it's like about her and everything. And it was really, really good that she had posted.
Yeah.
But she's very open and honest, and that's where I was going with that. And
And
it's just
she
really comforting to see that, to see real people.
Yeah, and I love her boyfriend, who is a Texas football star. He's in the NFL in Texas. He's posting how much he supports her and loves her and cares about her, and like it's so nice that like she does have that, and she's thanking all of the people who are like supporting her and her mental health, and like there's a ton of people that are like sticking up for her, like all those people that are like, oh, she's so lazy. She should just compete. They're like, what are you doing? Like,
Right.
let's see you flip off that vault.
Let's see you get up and stop eating potato chips while you're sitting on your fat ass. Like, you ain't
Yeah.
doing shit. Don't be criticizing her. She's done more than you'll do in 10 lifetimes. Like,
Oh, there was something too. What was it? I don't remember. Oh, I think it was for, there was, I don't remember what it was. It might have been for the fencing story, but oh, I think it was. I think it was for the fencing story. The women that went to the Olympic committee, they said that the Olympic committee, aside from being like sucks we're not doing anything. They sent them just like links to mental health resources and like a free meditation app subscription. And that was what was going to get them through the mental health
You
links.
know what would really help me? Like me personally, uh, because I've been sexually assaulted. What would really help me more than a app or mental help in the traditional way would be to let me take a bat and beat the shit out of the people that have offended me in that way, you know, who have
If you,
violated me. That would make me feel so much better.
I
Any
cannot,
sort of mental help.
like,
Like legit.
they have a fucking safety plan where it legit says he's not allowed to be near women. Why is he allowed to be in the Olympics? If you're not allowed to be near women, you shouldn't get to be in the Olympics. I'm sorry, but like,
Exactly.
I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. You shouldn't get to be in the Olympics. Like,
Yeah.
full
If
stop.
you can't be trusted
That's
any more
insane.
than that, you don't fucking belong there.
Yeah. So I hope that
Because
the
we're
mental,
incompetent. The
huh?
safe people are incompetent. The Olympic Committee is incompetent. Everybody's incompetent. Our insurance company's incompetent. Like everyone is incompetent.
I I'm really hoping. I'm weirdly confident that the current United States administration is going to put through more legislation for healthcare. And I'm really hoping that more mental health resources become available because I would love to be in therapy right now. I am also like, I don't have as much going on as you do, but I am extremely stressed. I have a lot of work and I feel very confined. Um, and I looked into getting therapy and I have insurance and I have good insurance and therapy is not covered under my insurance. And they said it's like, you can look up therapists and it's like, it was either 80 or 100. I think I saw some for 200 a session. And I'm like,
I know for ours it's like 110, I think, a session. And if you
I
go
mean,
every week, like,
yeah, like I can't afford that. I mean, if I went maybe once a month, but like if I'm going to just go once a month, I might as well just not go, to be
yeah.
honest. Like I I would love to have somebody to talk things through with. I would love to get support and tools so I can not feel this way. And I don't know where to go because unfortunately too, um, I make too much money for the free resources. So
Yeah.
they do them on like a sliding scale, and none of the sliding scales take into account your bills. So they're like, well, you make X amount of dollars. And it's like, yes, but I also pay for my apartment entirely myself. I have a car payment because I do need to get to my job. I have all of the bills associated with an apartment. They do not account for groceries in that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh no, you have this amount. I'm like, yes, and I use it for food. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not out there buying solid gold toilet seats. Like, I'm surviving and I want to put my mental health first, but I can't because I can't
Yeah.
afford it. And like, the only thing keeping me like semi sane is my pets. Like, it's if I didn't have them, there's no way I could make it.
Yeah.
I come home and I'm stressed and like I just sit there and I'm like, okay, even though everything is crashing down around me, my cat is here and my cat loves me and my cat needs me. Like I can't go anywhere because who's going to take care of this stupid cat who has to be hand fed off a spoon $200 worth of wet food every month? Like who's going to do this for this stupid gorgeous cat?
I am. To be honest, like, we haven't been doing our shows as much. Because I haven't been feeling we've had all these things going on and then I've just been like just couldn't bring myself to do anything. Um, but they actually do help me out mentally though. Like
Yeah.
as silly as that is, just doing this, like I'm feeling better than I was before we started. Just getting to rant and bitch about stuff like makes me feel better. I guess I'm a hateful person because when I bitch I feel better. I don't know, but
And I mean, it helps too, because like, you know, you're not alone in how you're feeling. I'm not alone in how I'm feeling.
Right.
And that is so important and
I
helpful.
think that that's one of the hardest parts of mental health, is that so many times I feel completely alone because like
Yeah.
nobody understands how I'm feeling. Like it's, you know, everybody goes through different things, and even if you went through the same thing as somebody else, your situation was is always going to be a little bit different, you know, or you interpret it differently, or you know, so it's like you feel like you're completely alone. But then whenever you're talking to someone and they're understanding, and you know, like whenever I vent to you and talk about mental stuff, I don't feel like you think of me as less than you did before I told you about that, you know.
Nope.
And having someone that doesn't hold it against me, or you know, make me feel like there's something wrong with me because of it, like that really helps.
That was one of the things people were saying about Simone Biles being so open about her mental health, was that they were saying, listen, Simone Biles is never going to see your tweet about how you think that she's not strong and that she should just push
Yeah.
through. But your sister, your daughter, your friends, they're all going
Right.
to see that you think that their mental health doesn't matter, and they're going to just jot that down. And that's, it sucks, and it makes you feel more isolated and more alone, and just like you don't know who you can be open and honest with, because
Right.
you also don't know who's going to turn around and stab you in the back with that information.
Exactly. That's
And
another huge fear that I've had. And up until the last few years, like I kept a lot of my mental health stuff secret because I was so in fear that like Lily's dad would maybe try to get custody of her, and he's a terrible person and he was abusive, and like I don't want that to happen. So it would be like, oh my god, what if, but now she's old enough, you know, she's almost 18 now, so I'm not really worried about it. But even like after she got to like, you know, 13, 14, it's like, well, now she would have the choice, you know, it's she would at least be able to live with my parents if nobody else.
yeah,
You know. But
I've I've opened up to people too, and they've literally just been like, well, and they weren't understanding. They're like, well, just go to therapy. It's so easy, just go. And you're like, it's not. I don't have the time to. I don't have the money to. I'm also terrified to go to a therapist.
and
Like,
my thing is like I had the best therapist in the entire world, the one that helped me like get through my PTSD and my ADHD and learn how to deal with all that stuff. Um, and he's no longer a therapist
that's right.
because
He's a bartender.
he's a bartender now because he can make more money bartending and he doesn't have to deal with the state filling out tons of paperwork and medical crap and all this, you know. And he's like, I can still get to help people because who goes to the bar often?
I I'm afraid of being committed.
I
When
have
I
a
was 11,
strong fear of that.
I was. When I was 11, I had a psychiatrist, and and I still to this day, I don't think that I was to the level that I need to be committed. I was crying. I didn't feel like my siblings liked me at all. And I mean, that's something, but I don't feel like being taken out of school and forced to go to a day program, which wasn't focused on children, which I was 11, with depression. I mean, the people in that day program, they were all recovering drug addicts, and they were all 14 and older. So I was 11 in a day program with 14 and older recovering drug addicts. And it was against my will. I didn't want to be there. And I was told a week. And then she didn't show up for the hearing to see if I was doing better. And they forced me to stay in another week. And I have a very real fear that if I go to a therapist and I'm honest about how I'm feeling, that they'll say, you need to take time off work. You need to be committed. You need to be in this. And like, I can't.
Like,
Like,
how is my rent going to get paid? Who's going to
yeah,
take care of my pets? Who's going to make sure my car payment gets paid? And where's that money going to come from? Because I won't be working. You
yeah, like I don't have that much vacation time.
Yeah,
I can't just, and that's what sucks. Like, I can't just take off because I want to kill myself.
right.
Like, and so you're forced into this just
So yeah, you're going to make
horrible.
me take off work and be committed, which is just going to make me want to kill myself even more. Because then when I get out, none of my bills are paid, and I have no way to pay them.
And you have this like awkward thing of like being like, oh, where are you? How is this? And your work for something like that, I
Just the
feel like they
fear of them
probably know.
judging you and being like, "Oh, that's the crazy one." And it's like, "No, I'm just suffering from like if I was suffering from a heart attack, you wouldn't be, thinking differently about me, as
Did
far
you
as my
know
pregnancy."
that during the pandemic, a lot of women hid their pregnancies from their employers because they were working from home and they were worried that they wouldn't get promotions and raises and things like that if their boss knew that they were pregnant? I feel the exact same about mental health. I feel like if I were open and honest and being like, I need time off for mental health, they'd be like, she's not committed. She's kind of a red flag. We're just going to overlook her.
Yeah.
There's a really good Modern Love episode and article about a woman who was bipolar who was like that. She was really good when she was on, but she would also take off 3 weeks in a row
Yeah.
and just lay in bed and do nothing. And
God, that
she,
sounds like me.
yeah, and she was constantly having to switch jobs because she was brilliant and she was on and everybody loved her, but her attendance record was just so poor because when she was off, she was off. And that's what we're dealing with. You can't just get the help that
I'm
you
not
need.
bipolar though. Like usually
Yeah.
I spend through other than right now dealing with all this stuff. Normally when I spend a lot of time in bed it's because I'm just hurting from my physical
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah,
Yeah. Mental health is hard.
it really is.
A bummer. I feel like we're ending this on a bummer, but it's kind of a bummer episode.
Yeah.
So
So yeah. Anyways.
yeah, so we'll go ahead and end this. I'm gonna take this wig off. It is crushing my skull.
Yeah.
So get a nice clip of that coming off.
I gotta figure out what I'm doing for dinner tonight. So I haven't even thought about it.
It is 8:30.
I know that. My children are starving. I'm a wonderful mother. Actually, their dad's in there. He could be making them something. So,
Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.
bye.
It hurts so bad.
The more you wore the wig, though, the more it looked natural, and it just seemed like your hair. Like about probably 20 minutes in, then it was just your hair.
Oh, my hair doesn't look that bad on camera.
It looks cute.
I crushed my skull for nothing.